The teacher as text, a hermeneutic phenomenological reflection on becoming what we teach. Everything depends, in a profound sense, on the person who stands at the front of the classroom. The teacher is not an automatic fountain from which intellectual beverages may simply be obtained. A teacher is either a witness or a stranger to the truth he or she teaches. To guide a pupil toward the promised land of knowledge, meaning, and wisdom, the teacher must, in some measure, have journeyed there personally. The deepest question of teaching, therefore, is not merely, do I know what I am teaching? But rather, do I stand for what I teach? Do I believe what I say? Have these truths become part of who I am? These questions bring us to the heart of a hermeneutic phenomenology of teaching. The teacher does not merely teach from a body of knowledge. The teacher teaches from a lived experience of meaning. A textbook can explain justice, but a teacher can embody it. A textbook can define compassion, but a teacher can make compassion visible. A textbook can describe integrity, but a teacher can allow students to encounter integrity in a living person. A textbook can speak about courage, hope, faith, or responsibility, but the teacher's life can become the first interpretation of these realities. This is why what we need more than textbooks are text people. The teacher becomes a text that students read, often without realizing that they are reading. They read the way the teacher listens. They read the way the teacher responds to mistakes. They read how the teacher treats the weak, the difficult, the successful, and the forgotten. They read the teacher's patience, frustrations, convictions, contradictions, and vulnerabilities. They read not only the words spoken in the classroom, but the silences between those words. And unlike a textbook, the text of the teacher is not closed when the class ends. It continues to be interpreted in the memory of the student. The teacher as a living text. Hermeneutics reminds us that understanding is never simply the reception of information. We interpret what we encounter through our experiences, relationships, histories, and expectations. In this sense, a teacher is not simply someone who delivers an interpretation of the world. The teacher becomes part of the world that the student is learning to interpret. The classroom is therefore not merely a place where texts are explained. It is a place where lives become texts for one another. The student encounters the teacher and unconsciously asks, what kind of person does this knowledge make you? Does what you teach actually matter to you? Can I trust what you are telling me? Is this merely something you know, or is it something you have become? These questions may never be spoken aloud, yet they are present in the relationship between teacher and student. A teacher may possess impressive credentials, master complex theories, and deliver perfectly organized lessons. Yet something essential is missing if the person standing before the students is disconnected from the truth being taught. Teaching becomes powerful when knowledge passes through the teacher's life and emerges not merely as information, but as wisdom embodied. The teacher as witness. The word witness carries a deeper meaning than simply being someone who has observed something. A witness speaks from experience. A witness does not merely say, "This is true." The witness's life becomes part of the testimony. The teacher, therefore, is called to be a witness to the possibility of becoming. A teacher who speaks about perseverance while having known failure can give students courage. A teacher who speaks about forgiveness because he or she has experienced the difficulty of forgiving can give the lesson a human face. A teacher who teaches responsibility and quietly accepts responsibility for mistakes offers a lesson more powerful than any written definition. The teacher's authority, then, does not come only from position, knowledge, or credentials. It also comes from authenticity. Students are remarkably perceptive. They can sense when words are merely recited and when words have been lived. They recognize the difference between a teacher who merely teaches a lesson and a teacher who has allowed the lesson to teach them. This is why the teacher must continually return to the unsettling questions. Do I stand for what I teach? Do I believe what I say? Does my life contradict my lesson? If my students imitate not my words, but my life, what exactly will they learn? These questions can be uncomfortable because they transform teaching from a profession into an examination of the self. The teacher as a mirror. There is a certain paradox in teaching. The teacher thinks he or she is presenting the subject matter, yet the students are also constantly encountering the teacher. The mathematics teacher teaches mathematics, but students encounter the teacher's patience with difficulty. The literature teacher teaches stories, but students encounter the teacher's capacity for wonder. The religious education teacher teaches faith, but students encounter the teacher's manner of believing. The values teacher teaches goodness, but students encounter the teacher's manner of treating others. In every classroom, another curriculum is quietly being taught. It is the curriculum of character. The teacher may prepare a formal lesson plan, but the students are also receiving an informal lesson through the teacher's presence. The teacher's gestures, tone, reactions, choices, and relationships become an unwritten curriculum. This is the paradox of the text person. The teacher may never intend to become a lesson, yet the teacher's life is constantly being read. From knowledge to wisdom. Education becomes incomplete when knowledge remains external to the person. One can know the definition of kindness without becoming kind. One can understand the theory of justice without practicing fairness. One can explain love without knowing how to love. One can teach faith without allowing faith to shape one's life. Knowledge becomes wisdom when it becomes embodied. And perhaps this is one of the greatest responsibilities of the teacher. Not simply to increase what students know, but to help them discover who they may become because of what they know. The teacher stands before the student as a possibility. The student sees, perconsciously, that knowledge can become character, that learning can become vocation, that truth can become a way of life. Thus, the teacher does not merely point toward the promised land. The teacher said, through life itself, I have walked a portion of this road. Come, let us walk together. The teacher who remains there comes a time when students leave the classroom. The textbook is returned. The notebook is forgotten. The examination is finished. The academic year becomes another page in memory. Yet certain teachers remain. They remain in the words we remember years later. They remain in the courage we discovered because they believed in us. They remain in the values we unconsciously carry into adulthood. They remain in the way we speak to our own children, the way we treat our colleagues, and the way we respond to those who need our patience. Perhaps this is the deepest meaning of being a teacher. A teacher does not simply occupy a place in a student's education. A teacher can become a presence in the student's becoming. The lesson eventually ends, but the interpretation continues. The classroom disappears, but the teacher's influence may remain. The textbook grows old, but the text person continues to speak through the life of the student. A final question for the teacher. To teach is to place one's own life, whether intentionally or unintentionally, before the eyes of another person. Therefore, perhaps the most important teaching is not another textbook, another methodology, or another presentation. It is the preparation of the self. Before asking, what will I teach today? Perhaps the teacher should sometimes ask, who am I becoming? What does my life say about the truth I am about to teach? If my students remember nothing of my lessons, what will they remember of me? And finally, if I am the text they read, what story am I allowing my life to tell? The teacher's greatest lesson may never be written on the board. It may be found in the person who stands before the class. For in the end, students may forget the chapter, the formula, the definition, and even the examination question. But they are less likely to forget the teacher who made truth believable, goodness visible, and learning meaningful. What we need more than textbooks are text people. People whose lives become living interpretations of what they teach. People whose presence quietly says, this truth is worth living. This goodness is possible. This journey is worth taking. And perhaps lessons have. That is what it truly means to be a teacher. To become the text that another human being carries with them long after they have left the classroom. Wani Bagambayan.